to the Girl Dad Show.
Welcome to the Girl Dad Show, a professional parenting podcast. Each month, I interview entrepreneurs, leaders, and professionals who are balancing parenthood, life, and profession in the hopes to learn what it takes to be an amazing professional parent. Our guest today is Jared Montz. You're going to love this show. Jared was a professional soccer player and used that to become a soccer coach, launched multiple businesses, then started to own other verticals, and now he is also running a small business acquisition company. And it's all codified around this concept of, giving people bigger dreams and helping them achieve their dreams. And it's a very, very unique episode with a very unique man, very thoughtful, very philosophical. And we talk a lot about how he uses those coaching skills and philosophies to be a better parent and dad, and how he mixes the two things together. I learned a ton from him, and I can't wait for you to check out the episode. Jared, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for joining me on the Girl Dad Show today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm excited to be here, Young.
I'm so excited. It's like we've been working on getting you on the show for, I want to say, months.
Yeah, we had it scheduled, and then I think I got COVID and had to cancel. And anyway, we're here now. So
I know, but we've been talking about having you on for, I think, a couple of months. I mean, we've been going back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like our first convo, and you're like, we should have just I think our first convo ended with, I should have recorded this whole thing for the podcast. So, so we are here now, and it's been fun. I wish we almost had a dot of our friendship, coming here from an Isaiah intro. This has been great.
That is really funny. I do remember having our first discovery call, and going, man, we should just hit the record button. That'd have been awesome. So now I got to remember what we talked about so we can try to recreate it. No, just kidding. It is also funny to talk to you here today because I feel like in this last week, I think I've had a call with you almost every other day this week.
Yeah, we've had a couple calls today. Part of me is I don't even know if I have Young's phone number yet. Should I have his number? I feel like we've talked enough where we should be texting occasionally.
Yeah, we totally should be. Yeah, we should definitely be text friends at this point. I mean, I seriously think I've had 4 meetings with you this week.
Yeah. It's been good. I've sent you a Loom. I'm about to reply to an email for you. I'm like, what? This is great.
This is great. Yeah, but let's jump into it because I definitely think that the listeners now know that, you and I have been talking and trying to get this going for a few months now, but I don't necessarily know if everyone knows you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do for a living?
My name's Jared Montz. I help people I care about reach their dreams, and I do that through multiple different businesses. So I'm a former pro soccer player. I was a small town kid with a big dream. Played in MLS for a couple years before I got hurt. Started a soccer camps business back in 2006. We have hundreds of videos on YouTube that are totally free, so we help players all around the world improve their game, and then people in America come to our soccer camps. And then my wife and I own some Pure Barre Fitness studios and helping the clients achieve their fitness goals. And then recently, some partners and I launched a company called Giverfly, where we help caring leaders fly. And we're acquiring service-based small businesses in the Southwest from caring leaders looking to retire.
That's amazing. I love how much you do and the breadth of the work that you're doing. And it's really lovely how you're able to succinctly articulate all of it, because it sounds like it all kind of unifies and ties together to a certain degree, the way you just articulated that. I really got to figure that out for myself, because when people ask me what I do for a living, I literally just have a blank stare back at them now, because I don't know how to explain what I do anymore. And I just kind of go out with the cheeky, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up line, and just kind of let it pass. But that was a really great explanation. I will say, I didn't know that you were a professional soccer player. I thought you were just passionate about soccer, but you actually played soccer.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Wait, so what years? Would you do that right after college?
Yeah, I did. I played 2005, 6, 7, 8, and then retired in 2009 with an injury. But yeah, I grew up in Louisiana, small town, outside New Orleans. That was my dream.
Yeah.
Pushing it, and I didn't really know where I was going to. MLS started in 96. I graduated high school in 01. So soccer was on once a week back then in Louisiana. Now it's everywhere. It's incredible. Austin FC,
it's huge.
All these stadiums. But yeah, that was my dream.
Yeah, and a lot of new teams too. I mean, it's gotten so big.
Yeah, so big. And then like even minor league markets are getting stadiums and all the real estate development going around it. It's really impressive. And yeah, it's neat. You know, I was interviewing my teammates in like '06 on YouTube, where it was you were filming on a tape and then attaching wires to the computer to get this footage uploaded. And a lot of them now are head coaches in England and America, and
Oh, wow.
it's been neat. And then launching this online soccer academy, like helping the next generation kind of come up, and yeah, it's been cool.
That's amazing. And so you took your passion for soccer and you turned it into your business.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What made you make that jump? I mean, were you just trying to figure out what you wanted to do once you injured yourself? Was it like, it sounds like one of those like movies where like, this like, this athlete goes through this like emotional mental crisis and then they like have to reinvent themselves, right?
Yeah, so I am very proud of the fact that I didn't have to go through that emotional mental crisis. That I was a person and I was also a soccer player, and I started coaching while I was playing.
Hmm.
Part of that was a love for coaching and like helping players. Like I didn't have this knowledge. I watched a VHS tape every day from Manchester United, like their 1999 highlights every day. That's what I was studying and watching. And so I just felt this like need to give back and teach people what I know now that I wish I knew when I was a kid. And a lot
Yeah.
of what I did in 2006 when I was just like trying to figure out what it is, I'm still doing now. So part of it was like love for the game and giving back. And then the second part was I was a rookie pro in America, making barely minimum wage. Like,
Oh, got it.
I also needed to, support myself.
Make money to live.
Yeah. So,
Can I ask what was the pay back then? Because I know it's gone
um,
up a lot. I mean,
oh my God, it's gone up so much when like some of these rookie contracts now, you're just going like, they're like six figures and up. And,
yeah.
yeah, the particular contract I was on back then, I think it was like 12 grand the first year and then 16 the second.
Wait, for the year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That wasn't everyone, and normally I don't share that, but I guess enough time has gone by. But for me, I didn't care. That was my dream. I was living it. I mean, there's guys on the team making high six figures. I knew the fact that I played pro would serve me well into the future, regardless of any
Yeah.
pay. You know?
Well, it's also the epitome of success as it relates to being an athlete in a sport, right? Like going pro is like, hey, you've like notched your way up, you've done all this training through middle school, high school, whatever. I don't know how long you were playing it, but like going
Yeah,
pro is a huge accomplishment in that kind of what's it called, drive for success, or what a qualifying factor would be, right? So
yeah. Yeah, and for me, that was my goal. And I tell kids, just because you play soccer doesn't mean you have to go pro or have to play in college. Sometimes there's always this extra pressure.
yeah,
But for me, that was my goal. I wanted it. I pushed it. You know, constantly like making those small improvements, and a lot of that has been very similar in my business career. Right, like get to this level,
yeah.
make some improvements. Get to this level, make some improvement.
I love that, and I love that you talk to that point with your students, because the math. It's so funny to me. Like it's the same thing with business. When you build a business and you grow in the corporate ladder, like it gets smaller and smaller in the opportunities as you climb up, and yet we have this like weird cultural like societal thing that we teach, especially in America, where like you could be anything you want to be. You got to dream it, you can want it, and then like we tell every single kid that, and then but then it's like the reality is that like there's only like 1 or 2% of the people that'll actually ever climb up to that point. So there's a vast majority of people that won't make it just from sheer math and logic, and yet we instill this kind. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad to instill potential and promise to the youth, but it's one of those things that I've been like really struggling a lot with, like my kids and being a parent, is like how much do I say you could be whatever you want to be, you could do whatever you want to do, and then the reality is also like I just want you to be happy and healthy, like, and just understand that not everyone needs to be the president of the United States or the CEO of a major company, right?
It's so nuanced, right? And that is something I didn't get growing up, and I try to give now, either through my coaching or through our coaches' coaching. Or like our core mission is inspire players. If you believe in it and back that up with hard work, anything in life is possible. So we let them know it is about confidence, and it's your dream, whatever that is. Not just because your neighbor has this dream, you have to have that. but then it's also like the backing it up with hard work. And depending who I'm talking to, I'll also say smart work, because a lot of people just work hard, but they're not working smart.
Yeah.
But we do, like, whether I'm coaching a player or mentoring someone or mentoring myself, like in business, like I am trying to say, what's your why? Like, what do you want? Just because you have a business doesn't mean you have to be at the top.
Yeah.
I'm in Kentucky right now with my wife and her family. She's from this area, and there's a person here who wanted to franchise his gym, and like randomly we got introduced, and I offered some perspective. I was like, well, that's really cool. You want to franchise, but like, what do you want? Like, what's your personal
Yeah.
why? Well,
Yeah.
I want to travel. My kid's a really good football player, and I want to be able to travel and do this and that. And I said, man, that sounds awesome, but if you're going to launch a franchisor, like, you're not going to be traveling. I would be so upset if I was a franchisee and I found out you were on the road all the time with your kid. You know, I'm like, why don't, instead of just franchising and needing 100 units to get crazy profitable or have an exit, maybe just have 5 gyms that people run for you. And he was like, you know, and just kind of like shifting it a little bit.
I love that, man.
So I try to do that with kids, right? Like, I try to do that with kids. Like, it's okay. Like, you can play soccer, just love it.
Well, at least remember why you're doing it, right?
Yeah, like, I just want to know, like, okay, you really want to go pro? Awesome. It's an amazing time to go pro. There's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
Just because you do something doesn't mean you have to.
That's right.
My father, I did some color commentary once, and it was really fun. It was like 2 games. It really taught me a lot about being on cameras for like the SEC networks, some women's college games. My dad's like, oh, you could be color comment, you could go on TV, and you could do this. I was like, Dad, hold on. I'm doing this and to learn something new. That's it. I love your enthusiasm, but please don't put that on me that I need to go do all this stuff just because I'm going to do something for fun.
Wow. Actually, I kind of want to dive into this. Let's go back. Let's come back to this because I actually want to talk about your kids. So let's talk about your kids. Can you tell me a little bit about your kids? How old are they? How many do you have?
Yeah, I have 2 beautiful little girls, Skylar
Girl
and Hayden.
dad.
Yeah, girl dad. I got my girl dad shirt here. This is my oldest, Skylar.
Awesome.
She just got to go to cheerleading camp where my wife went to school.
Oh, wow. Look how brave she is.
So she was having a lot of fun. And then this is my youngest, Hayden.
Oh, awesome. Tiny. She's a baby.
Yeah, 17 months and talking up a storm and just, it's really fun.
That is really fun. Yeah. So what is it? What, a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old?
17-month-old and a soon-to-be 5-year-old.
Oh, wow. She's really agile. She's very athletic.
She's quite the athlete. She does karate at school and plays soccer at school. And I mean, she's pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you love being a girl dad?
I do love being a girl dad.
Yeah.
It's amazing when they like run to you and they're just like, come on. You just like get low and they come in for this big hug. It's just the best dad rush and it feels amazing. I do love it. I've had people say like, do you want a boy? And no, I don't really feel like I would be raising them that much different, girl or boy, you know, for me,
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I love being a girl dad.
Yeah, me too. And that's a really interesting answer about raising them. I never even thought about it that way. When people ask me if I want a boy, I say, yeah, I definitely want a boy. I mean, I'd love to have, you know, I just want more kids, period, at the end. You know, I just don't know if we're gonna, it's in our cards. But man, in hindsight, like now that I have kids, I'm like, God, I wish I started earlier and had more because like they're so stinking fun, you know, like
Yeah.
I just want as many of them as I can have. But you know, you live and learn, I guess.
Yeah, our pandemic experience has been you know, really challenging. So for us, my wife's like, no, I don't know. She says the door is locked but not deadbolted, I think is what she said.
Nice. That's clever. I like that. Yeah. Mine's my wife says it's locked, deadbolted, and cemented over. So it's really a no-go using the same analogy here. So maybe I'll have my wife hang out with your wife a little bit and hopefully we can get the cement doors locked up. Yeah.
Your girls are so cute, by the way. I love seeing your photos, all the fun they have.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I definitely am an oversharer. I love sharing my life and kind of my journey with my family. And I get like mixed reviews on that, right? Some people tell me like, you shouldn't share so much in social and all that other stuff. But I also just like, I can't help it. It's my personality, I just like to share, about my
Yeah.
life and what I'm working on and what I'm doing. And parenting and being a girl dad's a huge part of it for me. It's like, it's kind of like, actually, it's the primary. Like, the whole reason why I even moved to Texas and even started consulting is so that I could really shift, the primary focus to being a dad as my front and center focus. So I feel like you have the same kind of sentiment. You're part of different groups and you have a really big focus on that as well too, right?
Yeah, I'm in a group called Front Row Dads that I joined maybe 2 years ago, and it's family first, business second.
Yeah,
The majority of the people in the group are entrepreneurs, or they have a
yeah,
career and maybe trying to be an entrepreneur, or they have a career that adds more flexibility. But it's nice to be around a group of people where it truly is family first, business second. Like if you came in there and you're like, oh, I make 7 figures a year and I do this, and one of the veterans in the group would just say, well, show me your calendar. How's your
yeah,
how's your marriage? How are your
yeah.
kids? And if you're not, if you don't have your calendar set where you're getting family time and date nights, and you're in a groovy spot with your wife, like they'll call you, they'll say, well, it's not cool in that group is what I'm trying to say, which I really like.
Yeah, the priorities are different. What they measure is different.
Yeah. So for me, it's, at least from what I hear, like people that are very old and, on their way out, it's like relationships matter the most, and these memories. It's not about finances, but it's also that little balance of most people in that group. They are the hard hitters and pretty successful and push it and work hard. So you're trying to have that balance between what you've been doing your whole life to get here, and then now having to like recalibrate a little bit,
Totally.
and then it's, it can be tricky.
I think that's actually something that I've had an epiphany on too, because it's like when you talk to these successful people that are older and wiser, and you say, "Hey, like looking back, like what do you think is the most important?" And they all say the same thing, exactly what you said. Like, I wish I spent more time with my kids, or like spent more time with my family, and all this other stuff. But I have a feeling like recently I came to this epiphany because I've been kind of working on that mindset of like, oh, if that's where I'm going to head anyways, I might as well start doing that now and
Hmm.
heed that advice. But it's also really hard to do that without money. And I think that you would never even come to that realization unless you had certain levels of not luxury, but security to
Yeah.
have the ability to think about that. So you do need to balance that between the two things a little bit, because I think if you didn't have money, you'd always be focused on money
Yeah.
just by not having it, right? And so I think the luxury of being able to say like, oh, I wish I spent more time with my family, kids, and this is really what matters, is because a lot of these other buckets have been satiated.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be crazy, but that's something that I've been like thinking a lot about the last like week.
No, no. I think a lot about like that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you have safety, shelter, food, and if like
That's right.
if safety isn't being met, like you're constantly in that lizard brain trying to get that sorted out. At least from what I see, like in this group I'm at, is once those needs are met, and it's like your family break even, your extra money, now all that's really met. A lot of people, it seems, don't, at that point they just keep pushing it, right? Because that's what they've done their whole life, and then
Yeah.
they're not mindful of, well, did I really need all that extra, and lose valuable relationship time with my spouse and kids. And I think that's, for me personally, that's what I've tried to be mindful about is, okay, we're gonna make a little less, but we're gonna have more of this family time.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think you can build bigger and stronger businesses because of that, because you're kind of forced to build teams and forced to delegate. Um, but yeah, it can be tricky.
And do you think that that's how you're quantifying success in your business now, is like figuring out how to like constrain your business success inside of a more tighter time frame?
Will you re-clarify that again? Will you say that question again?
So let me start by like telling you why I'm asking this question, then I'll re-ask the question. But like, for example, I have a lot of projects that I'm working on right now, like a numerous amount of like things that I'm doing, and it started because I started constraining my time. Meaning, like, I dedicate a certain amount of time for family, and dedicate a certain amount of time to do like it just blocked time, right? And so it like limits how much time you have to achieve things. And so then it forced me to say, hey, I have to do all my consulting and I have to make this much money in this amount of time. And so then my brain started to do this thing where like it like started to go, oh, well, you can't get this done in this time. And over the course of the last 2 years, I started delegating certain things or hiring things out for certain things. And I was forced to do it because I basically wasn't moving the time frame. I had to make this much in this amount of time, and whatever that looked like, it had to be within that time frame. And then it forced my brain to get very efficient and optimized with the hours that I spent. And then the thing that started happening is I started going, well, could I optimize that business in an amount of time? And so, like, a good example of this is that I have a very unsuccessful, so far it's unsuccessful, micro SaaS that I'm building, right? And so it's a budgeting tool for solopreneurs, photographers that are just doing a side job, right? They take photos as a side job, it's their side hustle. It's a budgeting, proposal, and payment system, and it's a micro. I call it a micro SaaS because it really only does one thing, but we're going to make it do 3 things by the end of this summer. But the exercise was, can I build a SaaS product with 1 hour a week? And that was like that was the thesis, right? That was the project, and it was really just to test my brain and my ability to like confine success into this 1 hour. It's going horribly, Jared. Like, it's going terrible. I've been working on it for like almost 2 years, right? And like I've tried all sorts of things within that hour, but once that hour's up, click, I stop working on it, right? And it's just like it's infuriating because like it's the ultimate test in like discipline and time, and then maximizing time efficiency and all sorts of other stuff. And so. But it's been a really fun exercise. And I would say that exercise has helped me a lot to optimize my other businesses. And it's allowed me to grow in ways that I'm like, oh, I could do this business with this amount of time, or I could do this business with this amount of time. And it's kind of like leveled me up to a certain degree, or at least it's helped me think about business in a different way. Yeah. So the question really is the same thing happening to you? Because you're also doing multiple things. Yeah. You have a soccer business camp that's very successful that you've been building up. You own multiple businesses that are in the. You said it was a dry bar, or it was it was a gym, right?
Pure Barre Fitness Studios, yeah.
Pure Barre. Yeah, got it. So Pure Barre businesses, and then now you're doing an SMB acquisition business, right? And so those are. I mean, if you talk to any person, chances are 8 out of 10 of them would say, I could probably do half of one of those.
Yeah. So
how are you thinking about doing all these things?
Lead leaders.
Mindset shift.
Yeah, that's how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
There's this book that was very impactful on me. It's called Ego is the Enemy. And it's about stoicism, and I forget the author's name, but I think he's based in the Austin area. And one of the big takeaways in that book was, what got me to here won't get me to there. And so I took things, that book was impactful for me. And also this idea of who, not how, and pouring into the right people. And I find whether it's business A or business B or business C, it's like very similar things are happening, very similar problems. So, like I feel like my job is, let's take communications, for example, and our communication code. Let's write one communication code and use it across our portfolio versus like every business, like using a gazillion different things, like creative freedom within a culture of discipline. So yeah, Pure Barre is going to be a little bit different than soccer camps, but at the core, we still need to communicate with each other. We still need to have certain processes in place. So how do we standardize that? And I brought on like my business soulmate and best friend, who's the first kid I ever coached, actually. His name's Steven. He's our COO. So we've been trying to implement that. The pandemic has been a huge pain in our butt. So, we were kind of like doing like this, and we were hitting this growth stage pre-pandemic where we bought a second studio, bought the rights to build 3 more, brought on Steven. Like we were really starting to grow and like do these things I was talking about. Pandemic has just been a nightmare for our businesses in Vegas, boutique fitness and soccer camps. So I'm not in the place I exactly want to be, but we are getting there. We just brought on a new leader at our soccer camps, and he's tasked with growing it and becoming the president and CEO. And then same with the acquisitions. We're not really doing deals unless we're putting the leader in place as well. So that's part of my role is recruiting the leaders who connect with our lead lightly style and our operational style. And then they have creative freedom within that culture of discipline.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've codified a lot of your operations.
Yeah.
Is how you've done this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. And then basically by codifying it, you're allowing scale through these different verticals.
Yeah.
And so realistically, if you have this and you start to operationalize it, you find the right leader and they go through that development curve of like learning to being masters of it, then theoretically you could add another vertical.
Yeah. So for me, code equals scale. Naval Ravikant talks about new wealth being built on code. And for him, I think he's referring to software code. And for me and our part and Steven and my wife and like our portfolio, we think about operational code, leadership code, and training code. These internal training videos we make. That's something that I didn't quite predict when I was starting Online Soccer Academy,
right,
forever ago. But hundreds of videos later, I'm pretty good at being on camera. I'm pretty good at how-to videos and making them fun and enjoyable. And whether it's a 5-year-old learning or a 50-year-old, it's amazing to see what you can learn from a video. And then putting that style into our training videos and training other people how to make a decent how-to. So yeah, for us, we put extra time and energy into that because once we've written it, you can start to scale it out.
It's awesome, man. I love that. And then if I can go back to, you kind of sprinkled on it, but if I can go back to the main question that you ask other people, but what's your why? What's your why for all these businesses and this growth and codifying this and operationalizing and optimizing and all these things? What's the why?
Yeah. I think the why is to help people I care about reach their dreams.
It goes right back to the first question. Yeah, about like, what do you do? Yeah, I love it. You have a very solid why. You started with that. Yeah, and see.
Like my love list is learning, making friends with strategic value, the creative side of business, brand, marketing, strategy, and then the leadership. And I'd put coaching in that. And whether it's a 10-year-old kid and our video help them, they live in a slum in India. They get made fun of on their after-school soccer team, but they watched our videos and now they've improved a lot and they get picked first instead of being made fun of. Whether it's that or, the new person we're putting into a potential acquisition here who this is his dream to be a business owner and we're giving him an opportunity that he never would have had. I love he's
that.
In his 40s and he's great, and I've known him for a couple of years, and I get kind of the rush from both of that.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. That's really, really great. Why and also success criteria. How much of these concepts do you apply to parenting?
A lot.
Do you really? Yeah. Do you really? I actually have a hard time believing that. That's awesome. I can't seem to successfully navigate my professional acumen and success to parenting. Like, that's incredible. Talk to me a little bit about like some examples.
So our leadership style is what I defined as lead lightly. And I wrote this doc on it. And it stems from this idea of no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And lead lightly we define as win the relationship game first, coach second, empower third. So, and there's little ways that we do that within that. So for example, we use this, part of winning the relationship game, I think, is earning trust, and that involves removing fear. So, for example, one of our Pure Barre GMs, we really want to go out of our way to let her know and show her that if you make a mistake, we are not going to yell at you. Mm-hmm. We say no big deal. And we use that as a trigger phrase. So it's okay, it's going to be right. It's just no mistake equals no big deal. So there's no thinking, and we start to remove that fear because who knows what her past job was and if she got yelled at or, what mommy and daddy told her when she made a mistake.
Yeah.
So no big deal, for example, is something we apply in parenting. Our
Yeah.
5-year-old, soon to be 5-year-old Skylar, if she messes up her art project and you see her get frustrated, no big deal. It's all right. It's okay to feel that way. It's okay to be upset, but you're not perfect, and that's okay. So whether I'm saying that to a business partner or myself or a kid or my daughter, we use that regularly. And kind of a funny story is, so we've been doing this for her basically before she could even really talk. And I think she was like 3, 2.5, 3. And it was the middle of the night, young.
Yeah.
She's been screaming. She's not sleeping great. We're exhausted. It's like maybe 3 a.m. And my wife, Lauren, is downstairs getting a bottle or something for her to help. And you just hear pop, like a glass shatter. And my daughter went from crying to no big deal. She shouts throughout the house. And it was hilarious. I'm upstairs going, don't laugh, Jared, don't laugh. And like Lauren was fuming, it's like so stressful at 3 a.m. And I was thinking, wow, she went from crying to no big deal. Like what a trigger that is, just from hearing the noise. So that's one example.
That's a great example. That's a great example. I love that. Do you have another one? I'm actually surprised you even had one so clearly and succinctly. That's incredible.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the zone right now. Like when Will Ferrell blacks out in Old School, he's like, what happened? When he rocks out on the podium. I'm trying to think of another. Let's leave it at that one right now.
Yeah, that's a great one, man. I can't believe you popped that one out so quickly and easily. That's an amazing thing. I mean, just to kind of allude to what I was saying earlier is that I've tried to like use the same concepts when I do when I do parenting. When I'm parenting, I guess you can use it as a verb like that, right? Yeah, but it doesn't really work well for me. Like I feel like my wife's really patient and she's even keeled. I'm like, I find myself to be very, which is so funny because I'm so even keeled in business, and I'm so pragmatic and operational, but like I get very rational and emotional, and I get like so wrapped into my kids and it's really challenging for me to have that, like, it's weird. Like I can't, it doesn't like transfer over for me. It's like so strange. And then, so I'm either irrational or like I respond, not like even keeled, or I do the opposite. I just like completely just like give in, which is also equally bad, right? Like I spoil them rotten, right? I just spoil them rotten. I'm like the biggest pushover parent ever. My wife constantly tells me she has 3 kids, because I'm just like, yeah. And do you resonate with this as well, or do you feel like you're better at holding your discipline in line?
I can resonate with the feeling for sure. I can resonate with the feeling for sure. And something I wrote down I think would be fun to share, and I'm going to share it. I try to be mindful when that feeling comes on and like not react or give in. Now I have a little unfair advantage because I've been coaching, for almost 20 years now. So I know I can't give in, right? Now I need to have the discipline to do that with my own kids, the way I've been able to so easily do it. In Ray Diallo's book, Principles, he talks about algorithmic thinking. And I love this idea of algorithmic thinking because whether I feel like I'm in a great mood or a bad mood, more than likely I'm going to do the same strategy or tactic. It's kind of how I want my brain to operate, whether it's business or personal. Regardless of how I'm feeling, I'm going to roughly do it the same way because we've already predefined this is how we're going to do it in our business. And there's a book that I read called The Whole Brainchild. And it's about child psychology, which as I'm reading, I go, it sounds just like adult psychology. But basically it's saying your right brain and your left brain, the right brain's the emotional and the left brain is the logic. And when a child has a tantrum, it's like all emotion and their right brain is really firing. And what we do, what the book was saying was like, as parents, when the right brain is firing, a lot of us are trying to talk logic, but the 2 brains aren't integrated. So the only goal when when their right brain is firing and the child's having the tantrum is just to calm them. As they calm, taking those breaths or whatever, it's okay to feel that way. And as that right brain integrates with the left, and now it's come down, that's when psychologists say you have like a healthy mental state when you have good integration versus this. And
I feel like my wife paid you $5 to say that in this podcast.
And then so at that moment, when it comes down, then I'm trying to make the mindful decision. Do I want to coach right now or not, or save it for later, or not even talk about it? And it depends on the situation. So I do that with my kids. We also now do that with our teammates and partners.
Yeah.
My wife and I were to
It's
each
so
other,
powerful.
and in the scribe call recently with Isaiah, the scribe team, we were doing this 10-4 communications training, and this is something we do internally where Isaiah calls it guard up. So we came up with this tactic called guard up, guard down. You know, like if I'm talking with you and I know you're just like livid and I can tell you're kind of irrational, in my mind, I'm trying to train myself, just calm Young down. Like, let's not push it right now. Guard up, get it down, and then take a break, or we're at a spot where we can talk. So I try to do my best to whether it's professionally or in my parenting, I feel like there's a lot of similarities there.
You're very, very sage and smart for processing the information like that. It's very helpful for me to hear that, actually, because I think that I don't actually do that well. My wife is incredible at it. So you may want to add her to your list of potential future leaders for one of your businesses, because she is naturally gifted at that. She's very good at, like, I call her the neutralizer, right? So if you're like super high or angry, she'll bring you down before she talks to you. Same with the kids and me, right? And if you're super bummed out or down, she'll bring you up as well. Like, she'll get you to a level, you know, and then she kind of like wants you right in the middle there. So that's really interesting that you broke it down like that. It's very interesting how much systems you built and codified like a lot of this stuff. And it's awesome, man. It sounds like you.
Does your wife naturally do that, or does she have a background in psychology, or how did she learn that?
She naturally does it. And it's kind of funny because, like, I feel like her and I are a good match because we're so different, right? Like, I think that I'm, you know, very, very high emotions, you know, and just like I'm a big dreamer and pusher and driver, and she's very even. And it's kind of funny because stereotypically speaking, like she has a lot of Asian cultural like elements. I'm like, you know, you're very like Zen and like and almost Buddhist to a certain degree because you don't want anything to be like deviating from this norm. And it's like this flip flop of cultures a little bit, but yeah, she's really good at it naturally. And I noticed her doing it. She's always telling me like, Young, like calm down, calm the kid down first before we start coaching. I'm like, no, just tell them. It's like, it's not okay to do that. Or like, they shouldn't be so upset about something. It's not a big deal. And like, I don't know. I'm very like I equal force. Right. But I'm also not a coach like you are. And I think that's a big pointer that you just named out. Maybe that's a skill that I can start working on is like coaching. It's a good one.
I've just been reading and like learning all some of the stuff I've done naturally and progressed, and some I didn't do early on. And it,
Yeah.
to me, one of the common traits I see in whether sports or business, in my opinion, some of the great leaders, it's like 80% psychology and 20% X's and O's.
It is.
And you know what I would say
really
to
is.
more of the like to that operator type, or like let's just fix it quick type. Like some of the front row dads are like, I just want to solve my wife's problem, and I go, well,
Yep.
I hear you, but at least in my opinion,
Yep.
and what I see, sometimes the best way to solve it is just to listen and not try to fix it. And ironically, you solve it the fastest. And it's like,
I'm completely convinced now that my wife has talked to you and paid you to be on this podcast. I was like making a joke about it earlier, but like now I'll actually put money on the fact that she gave you money to come on the show and talk to me.
that's so funny.
I love it. Hey, Jared, I do want to be conscious of your time, so let me switch gears a little bit. I have a rapid fire questions I'd like to ask every guest to create some symmetry to the show, so let me fire those off real quick, okay? What advice do you have for other parents and soon-to-be parents?
Put your own oxygen mask on first.
Explain.
You know, if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of each other. And if we can't take care of each other, we're just not going to be the best forms of ourselves for our kids.
That is an amazing piece of advice. Oh man, I'm totally going to steal that. That's really, really smart. It's very, very right. Very, very right. Okay, if you can go back and tell yourself one thing before having kids, what would you tell yourself?
That comment plus make a lot more money and save for. No, no, probably that comment, and just to sort of like get okay with the unpredictable and getting out of your routine. That's been a struggle for me, and I still struggle with that. Like I love a good routine, and
Yeah.
getting into the zone regularly, right? As a player, as a business professional, you have kids, and my goodness, there's just a lot of things that are out of your control, and it can be very, you're not getting your sleep. It's that part is really hard.
That is hard. What is the most, excuse me, what is the most surprising thing that you've learned about yourself after becoming a parent?
Knowing how much I like a good regiment,
Oh, got it.
the needing to work on like the flow more. It's just hard. Like my wife is really good at it's like sometimes, and I think that's the creative side of me where I'm so used to like creative time and white space and I don't get as much of that as I used to, or not as predictable. And that's been more
Yeah.
challenging for me. So, I guess that would be a surprise that I wish I could do better at. I don't know if I'm answering your question
Yeah.
right, but
No, that is a great answer. I mean, I feel like I'm probably the opposite. I need to be more spontaneous. So I think it's actually a really, really good answer because I thought I was like the super chill, laid back, dad, because I was going to be I'm super fun, I'm super loud and da da da. But like, as a parent, I didn't realize how structured I was, like have breakfast, go do this, like everything needs to be planned out. And it's pretty bad. Yeah. And so like, even this last Saturday, we took the girls very spontaneously. They just like jumped in the pool before breakfast and it was like freaking me out. I'm like, what are we doing? What are they going to eat? If they're going to eat it, they're going to eat it like an hour later. Like, and then lunch is going to be messed up. And I just like, I couldn't help it. It was just like, I started getting panicky, and like anxiety attacks. But we ended up just making the whole day spontaneous and we just went full blown and it was super fun. And it ended up being one of the most amazing Saturdays I've had. We went to the Museum of Ice Cream and the girls still talk
cool.
about it today. Right. But everything about that day was random and spontaneous. And I just like realized last Saturday how structured I am. So yes, I'm the exact opposite of you in that sense. I think I did the opposite, right? Where you kind of went into it thinking the
Yeah.
opposite of me. All right. What is your all-time favorite business book?
All right, I'll say one that I don't think is going to be very common. We'll go with two.
Okay.
There's a book called Quiet by Susan Cain, and it's about the power of introverts in a world that doesn't stop talking. And for me, that was a really impactful book. I read Give and Take. It mentioned that book in Give and Take, which I also loved. And I was like, I'm going to go read that. Because at the time I was at a startup where I was the only extrovert with like 8 introverts. And the book Good to Great talks about the charismatic leader can sometimes leave a hole when they leave a company. And that stuck out with me because I am charismatic. I have this natural Southern charm. I can be very charming and I can draw people in, but that can also be a problem, right? I could attract the wrong people. So I went deep on learning more about the introverted leader and their positive qualities, and that Quiet book was really good. And I started to adopt those into my leadership style, to try to have this balance of, the personality and the charisma, but also the introverted leader where others can shine around me. And it's not just me.
Jeez. Man, you are optimizing everything. I love it. Good for you, man. That's fantastic. Thanks for that. Did you say you want to give a
Oh
second
yeah,
book?
that's right.
You said you had
Thank you.
two?
The other book I'll share is called Reboot. by Jerry Colonna, I think, who was a VC for a while, and now he's like a mental strength coach or therapist. And that book is really powerful and about leadership being this radical self-inquiry and your hardwiring from a kid or past experiences. And he called it the ghost in the machines, like bad code coming out, and how that can impact your leadership without you even realizing it.
That's great, man. Thanks for sharing those. I haven't heard either one of them, so I'll have to check those out. Yeah, I love this question because I get like a huge reading list, and my goal is to like try to read like 10 books a year. And so just like sometimes it's like, what am I going to read next? I mean, obviously there's a million books to read, but it's always great to talk to people about the books. And I've never heard of these books. It's awesome. And then my last question to bring us home, when you're not being a super entrepreneur and a builder and a super coach and a super dad, what do you do for fun? What's your downtime stuff?
I love snowboarding on a powder day. Haven't got a lot of that lately because of the young kids, but I'll wake surf occasionally on buddy's boat in Vegas, which is a lot of fun. But I would say yes, anything kind of outdoor. So like if I have my ideal sort of flow state, like at least once just a week, I'm doing a hike or getting on the paddleboard, something like that.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. And I definitely can't wait till our girls are a little older. We'll take them snowboarding together. Yeah.
We went to Utah in February, and my oldest, we rented skis and we were practicing ahead of time, and I had my assistant put together a couple of like how-to videos and little things that she could just kind of watch. Like she was just on her own, sort of watching them, and then we were skiing in the living room, and then she did so good on the mountain, and it was the coolest thing going down the hill with your 4.5-year-old, and you're like, slow down, watch out, oh my goodness. And I learned how to ski with her, which was fun because I'm more of a snowboarder, and it was super cool. It was just.
Well, on the skis, dude, like there are like these 2.5-year-olds just like whipping down the slope.
And they're so darn cute. They're so darn cute too. And I don't know, I love the little ski outfits. Like I think it'd be so fun. Like we take all the kids and we're all in the same like pajama outfits or little dinosaurs coming down the hill. It was awesome. Yeah, I wore a Ghostbuster outfit and she had a little pumpkin outfit on and I was chasing her.
It's so funny. Yeah, it's so gnarly watching these little kids. Yeah. Jared, this was awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about, business, life, and parenting. It's been really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on, Young. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon, okay? Thank you again for listening to The Girl Dad Show. To help our show grow, please let us know who we should interview next by filling out the form on our website or commenting below.